Hi friends, in today's video, Mr. Bone Folder here is going to show you how to make this really cute and fun spooky Halloween card using a lot of Tim Holtz products to create these gorgeous embossed backgrounds that will be certainly talking points for any person that you gift a card like this to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. For today's card, we are going to be starting off making these beautiful backgrounds for the card front. And to do that, we are going to be using two embossing folders. So these are both folders that I purchased off of Temu, really inexpensive, and they look very similar, if not identical, to Tim Holtz embossing folders that are currently on the market. I have this very beautiful, elegant design, which looks like this. And then I also have an alphabet one with upper and lowercase, and this one looks something like this when you emboss it. These are absolutely stunning embossing folders for a fraction of the price for Sizzix embossing folders. Definitely worth checking out. If you are interested, I will have a link in the description down below. If they are not available, you can always sign up to be notified. But with that being said, we are going to be using those embossing folders to create some really beautiful, unique backdrops for your card front. And to do that, we are going to be playing around with distressed mica stains in all of the Halloween color hues that Tim Holtz has come out with. We are going to be using some cardstock. I am using watercolor cardstock. This is the Tim Holtz Distress watercolor cardstock, but you can use whatever watercolor paper you have on hand, mixed media cardstock, anything that can withhold getting a lot of moisture. I also have a bottle of spray water just to keep my surface clean, along with a rag to wipe off my surface as I make a mess, and then my nonstick surface. So let's go ahead and get into playing with some of the colors. For the mica stains, I have Empty Tomb, which is a dark silver. I have Fallen Acorn, which is a dark brown, Bubbling Cauldron, Jack-o'-lantern, Crooked Broomstick, Hocus Pocus, Mulled Cider, Flickering Candle, and Unraveled. And all of these have mica in there, so it does have that pearlescence and shimmer factor. So as you can see with these samples, just the absolute glow that you get on the pages. It's beautiful. I am going to go ahead and choose some colors. So I think I'm going to go in with some Jack-o'-lantern, Mulled Cider, Empty Tomb, maybe some Flickering Candle, and then maybe some Bubbling Cauldron. So we'll see. We'll start off with these for right now. And what I'm going to do on my mat is I'm just going to spray these down and then get my hands dirty. Now these will stain your hands. As you can see, I was playing around with it earlier. It's not as bad now because I washed my hands, but it will stain your hands temporarily. So if you do not want to deal with that, just wear some gloves. So what you want to do with these mica stains and any of the sprays is that you want to give this a really good shake. Now, if you do have experience with some of these bottles of distress sprays, I don't know why, but sometimes when I do shake it, the liquid comes out and seeps through the top. So I don't know if that's just a defective bottle or if that's just supposed to happen. So always make sure that the cap is on when you are shaking these. Inside you will hear that ball, similar to if you have a bottle of spray paint. You just want to make sure you're getting all the sludge that's at the bottom broken up. So you shake all of your ones that you want to use. See that sludge right there? You just want to make sure that that's broken up. Let's just put down some mulled cider, and I'm just going to clean this cap real quick. So I'm just going to spray that down. Now, after you spray, there is going to be a little bead of pigment left, so you just want to make sure that you rub that off so that it doesn't clog your spray. And then I'm going to go in with Flickering Candle. It's a juicy kind of gold, orangey gold color. Jack-o'-lantern, pretty self-explanatory. Put some right here. Oof, look at that color. Yummy. And then I'm going to go in with Empty Tomb. Let's add a little bit of Hocus Pocus. Why not? I'm going to move these out of the way and just kind of go up here. Okay, so then I'm just going to use my fingers and just kind of mix that up. Look at how beautiful that is. Ooh, yummy. So then I'm just going to take my cardstock, use whichever side you want. And as you can see, already staining. Fun process. That just means you're having fun. So I'm just going to kind of drag the cardstock along here. And then, oh, look at that gorgeousness. Oh, that is so beautiful. Okay, so then I'm just going to kind of go in and just pick up some more in some of the areas that maybe didn't get some. So you can go ahead and let that dry. You can add on top of that, or you can also just kind of drop it and then pick it back up, just like that. So you can keep playing with it. You can also take some water, spritz that on, and then let it react with water as well, because these are water reactive sprays. So you can also do that, or you can just spray water right on top and let it just kind of meld together and create a really unique background. Now, I would recommend waiting in between layers, but if you don't want to wait in between layers, you can use a heat tool. And look at how easily that just cleans up. You can just spray that with some water and clean that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit this with the heat tool just so I can go in with another layer. There's really no end point to this. You can stop whenever you feel like stopping, whenever you feel like you have created the background that you really love. So sometimes I like to spray it while the paper is up so that the water droplets float down to the bottom, and it really creates this beautiful kind of cascade effect. And all of the colors kind of mix and marry with each other, and look at how stunning that looks. And it looks even more stunning once you use your embossing folder. It just makes all the colors come right to life. I absolutely love that. I think that looks really good. So I'm going to set that aside to let that dry. Again, I am going to just clean my surface with some water, or you could even go in with another piece of cardstock. So why not? Let's just do that. That way we don't waste any of the ink. Again, just going to go in with the colors here and just kind of pick that up. This is more brown, but that's okay, because what you can do is you can use that as kind of the main color for your cardstock and then layer on top of it with other colors. And then again, you have another unique background that you can use for any future card. You can die cut these, you can emboss, so many different options with something like this. Now that our papers have had a chance to dry, look at how beautiful these backgrounds are. And you can see that beautiful sheen, that iridescence from the mica stain. I really love this one. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move forward with the embossing. So you can do this two different ways. So before we run this through the embossing machine, to get this kind of detail and to have all of that texture really brought to the forefront, you're going to go ahead and use archival ink or any type of waterproof ink. I'm using black. So you can either emboss it first and then basically take your ink pad and then go over the raised texture, or you can go ahead and add your ink to your actual embossing folder and then run it through the machine so that it already applies your ink to it. So you can do it one of those two ways, whichever you feel more comfortable with. I'm going to actually apply it to my embossing folder first. Now keep in mind, as you put your papers into your folder, you want to make sure that you're placing it. Let's see, I've marked the direction in which I need my paper to sit. So my paper needs to sit here. So you want to, I'm not sure if it's going to show, but there is a raised section and a deboss section. So the deboss section you want to basically have on top of your paper, because as it's going down, it's basically sandwiching your paper and creating that embossed look. So keep that in mind when you are using your embossing folder. Before we place our paper in our embossing folder, I'm going to go ahead and ink the deboss side. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that. Run that right over. And then I'm going to actually spritz the back of my paper. And this is simply so that we get a really crisp embossed image. I don't want to water the front because this is water reactive stain, so I don't want it to start bleeding on me. So I'm just going to lightly water the back, just like that. And this is simply to make the paper, again, very flexible so that you get a really nice texture. So I'm going to lay that right down, and then we're going to run that sandwich through the machine. And for this, I'm just using the Sizzix Big Shot. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And look at that beautiful, beautiful paper. Oh, and so as you can see, that ink has transferred over and give it more depth. So you can give it some more depth by just using a little paper and with the ink just kind of smudge along the top. But I really love how that looks. Ooh, stunning. So we're going to go ahead and do that again for the next two papers, and then I'll be right back. All right, and then once you are done with your embossing folder, you're just going to spray it with some regular rubbing alcohol, and it's just very easy to remove that. And there we go. Look at these gorgeous papers. I think they're absolutely stunning. So the background that I think I'm gonna go with is this one right here. I just love how many beautiful colors are in here. And then these two I'm gonna definitely be saving for another project. So I wanted to create a kind of a haunted cemetery sort of vibe. So I am using this urn from this Tim Holtz pack. These are called Layers, and it comes with 76 pieces, all different sorts of designs in here, just really cool pack. I also pulled my Distress ink in antique linen, so I'm gonna go ahead and just give this a little bit of color. And I think I'm gonna go in with a little bit of weathered wood, kind of more of a spooky vibe. So we're just gonna set aside to dry. So I sprayed the frozen fog on my mat. I am actually just going in and adding some highlights onto my card and just kind of lightly dab that into place. And I just think it makes it kind of pop a little bit and give it a patinaed look, which I really like. So I'm not doing it on every piece or part of the design, but just kind of certain areas. I'm just dabbing the frozen fog right onto those little bits. And it just adds some really beautiful highlights, as you can see. Before I did that, I went in with my archival waterproof ink in jet black, and I did go over the top kind of like this, just so that the elements could pop a little bit more. So that's something that, again, you can do to accentuate any of the designs that you use for your embossing folder. So I'm going to set that aside to dry, and then we will move on to the next step. So I've decided to add the front of the card onto this black card base, and then I decided to create some sort of a frame for the urn. So from this die set from Sizzix, comes with stamps as well. It is the Framelits with Stamps. It's an Olivia Rose collaboration. I just pulled the largest one in the pack, which is this one right here. And then on this really pretty purple eggplant color, I went ahead and cut out the frame for that. So we're going to use that as a background. And then also from the scrapbook.com die cut set, from the ghost die cut set, I went ahead and die cut the smallest ghost and this little guy right here. So basically what I'm thinking about doing is taking the urn, having a medium-sized guy kind of poke out from the bottom, and then have this one floating right on top, and then we're going to add our sentiment. So before we start assembling, I'm going to go ahead and just distress ink this part here. I'm going to go in with the Black Soot distress ink because that is one of my all-time favorites to use. And when I go in and distress, I do want to kind of give this a little bit of a highlight effect. I'm going to start off my paper and then work my way onto the paper. So that way you get a very nice even effect around your piece. So you can see kind of like a shadowing kind of effect there in the middle, which is what I want. And then we're going to go around the edges to make them even darker. This really does make your pieces pop a little bit more when you just add that little border around the edges. I am going to wrap this piece with almost a corresponding color. I kind of wanted this to wrap around our front piece here, and that way it just kind of finishes this off a little bit more once you add that right on top. So I've just gone ahead and secured it even more with some tape on the back after I've glued it down. So that should hold it into place. I'm not going to add any glue onto the front here because I didn't want anything to seep through. So I just added it to the back with the tape. Okay, so we're going to adhere the card front to our card base. So I'm just going to add some double-sided tape on the back here. There we go. So I'm going to take my urn and I'm going to glue this little ghost down here at the bottom. There we go. And then we're just going to take our ghost and have him peeking right down there. And as you can see, I've die cut our little ghosts, both of our little ghosts, out of this iridescent paper. And this is from the scrapbook.com holographic paper set. Before we add that onto the frame, we're going to adhere our frame down. So I'm just going to add some foam tape to the back of the frame. I'm only going to add the foam tape on this layer and this layer because if I add it in the middle, then it will add some additional height that I don't want. So I just want to have it with one layer of foam tape. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly do that. Perfect. So we've adhered that right there. For this, I'm not going to add any additional dimension to the back. So I'm just going to glue this right down. The little ghost, I am going to go ahead and add some foam tape onto the back of him. All right, so this is what we have so far. And then the very last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add our sentiment. So the sentiment that I want to add is Happy Haunts. So to do that, I was kind of going back and forth. I was going to use the alphabet embossing folder that I showed at the beginning, but I decided that I'll just use this for another project instead. So I pulled out my Temu label maker and I just put in there Happy Haunts. I just really like the way that that looks. It has that Tim Holtz sticker book look. So I'm just going to adhere that right down there. All right, so here is our finished card. I really love how it turned out. It looks very spooky and just a lot of beautiful dimension with that embossing folder. And again, I will leave in the description the link to the embossing folder if it is still available off of Temu. I hope you guys give this a try. It's super easy to make, especially with the backgrounds, and you can really create your own backgrounds for these types of cards. And they're really fun, and look at how beautiful that is. I mean, every one is going to be different and unique depending on the type of distress sprays and mica stains that you use. So if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Do hit that subscribe button. It really helps my channel to continue to grow and get my videos pushed into the YouTube algorithm. So with that being said, I will see you guys in my next video. Take care. Bye.